I had previously talked about some of the old contests MTV ran back in the 80s, including Van Halen's Lost Weekend, the time the network gave away a whole town, or the time they gave away a home in John Cougar Mellencamp's home state of Indiana. The link to all those videos is down below in the description box. But today I want to talk about perhaps the most tragic contest the network ran. The winner would end up being worse off after he collected his prizes from the network, and that's what we're going to explore in today's video. The 80s saw the rise of the Yuppies, young, hip urban professionals with well-paying jobs and upward mobility. They also became detested by those whose neighborhoods became gentrified, something that's still happening to this very day. Wanting to capitalize on this resentment, MTV ran a contest in 1989 titled Foreclosure on a Yuppie. Here's an ad that MTV ran for the contest.
They infested your neighborhood, turned your favorite restaurants into screaming hellholes of buffalo wings, bad jokes, and bogus margaritas.
$15 for chili? And then he says, is that a bonus, or are you just glad to see me? Too bad!
Lived in greedy luxury, while you starved in a closet. Greed is good. But on January 1st, you can avenge this scourge of the 80s and all it stood for.
I'll be right back, Beamer.
On January 1st, you can foreclose on a Yuppie. You'll repossess all the worldly possessions of money-grubbing Yuppie Gavin Beresford of Manhattan's Upper West Side. You'll get the luxury apartment, the TV, the stereo, the dog, and the car. You'll win a professional financial advisor, and to give you something to play with, we'll pay you $50,000. Let's get busy. We'll even throw in a personal valet to take you shopping for your new 90s wardrobe.
Shall we buy some shoes, sir?
Why not? It's your money, Gavin.
Take the 90s off. Repossess a Yuppie's apartment, car, TV, stereo, and pet dog Beamer, plus $50,000. Just dial 1-900-328-2000 between now and midnight December 31st, the last rotten, greedy second of the 80s.
First thing we're gonna do is change your name to Axel.
This contest brought to you by Levi's 501 Jeans.
The contest was meant to celebrate the end of the decade. The lottery would be done through telephone entries, with the winner being randomly selected. The winner would receive a 1990 BMW, a state-of-the-art stereo system, a whopping 32-inch color TV, an Akita puppy, as well as $50,000 to use towards buying stocks and another $100,000 to purchase a property. MTV would later decide not to give the contest winner an Akita puppy, instead substituting it for $1,000 cash, after some animal lovers told the network that the breed could be aggressive. David Cohen, who was MTV's director of national promotions, would admit to the Morning Call newspaper in 1989, "We were in the office thinking about what to do for the end of the decade, and we didn't want anything generic, but instead something symbolic. The Yuppie is a symbol of the 80s. Everyone knows one or has probably been called one when they're not in the room. Our audience doesn't like to think of themselves as Yuppies, and we thought that this would appeal to them. The opportunity to take one Yuppie down," he'd say. The article would go on to state, in 1989, MTV devoted massive programming to Yuppie-beloved videos by the Rolling Stones, Billy Joel, Tracy Chapman, Milli Vanilli, Living Colour, and Bon Jovi, amongst others. The network seems willing to cater to Yuppies' every whim, even if it regularly portrays itself as on the cutting edge of popular culture, the article would state. The winner of the contest would be a 23-year-old man named John Rogers. Rogers was from a small town named Knockemstiff in Ohio, and Rogers was the perfect contest winner for the network. He was unemployed while living in a small house, and he was anything but a Yuppie. The small town he resided in was surrounded by so much of his family that he once dated a distant cousin without even knowing it. Up until this point in his life, Rogers' mother would tell the Chicago Tribune her son was, and I quote, basically average. Rogers would play drums and trombone while in high school, and would break into the same school in his senior year and be caught by the police. He'd be put in a supervisory program for 3 years, and he would claim that he got into drugs at the time. After school, he quickly turned things around, working a variety of jobs, including construction, being a carny, and a cable TV installer. By the time he won the contest, Rogers was unemployed after shooting himself in the foot with his father's .38 revolver, and he would spend almost a week in the hospital recovering. Rogers would be chosen out of more than 100,000 contest entries, and he would admit to the Chicago Tribune, "I was getting a little carried away with all that prize money for a while. I was buying stuff that I never had before. I bought me a 5-piece drum set, a $200 tattoo. I bought me a Nintendo. Mario's huge on that TV," he would say. Rogers would also get engaged to a high school senior who was 17 at the time, who he'd been dating for about a year. But rumors started to circulate around town that he'd won upwards of $1 million, and random strangers would come up to him and ask him for money, while other times people attempted to break into his house. Rogers would soon buy himself a gun just to protect himself and his property. But it wouldn't be the residents of the town that would be the biggest threat to him, but rather himself. He would get into a serious car accident while driving his BMW one afternoon by himself on the way to pick up his fiancée. He would be navigating a tight curve going 50 miles per hour when the posted speed was 30 and lost control of his car. He didn't appear to be wearing a seatbelt and was thrown into a tree. It would result in him being paralyzed in both arms and legs. From the profile that the Chicago Tribune did about him, it would appear that he did regain some mobility in his hands. His cash prizes would end up drying up pretty quickly though. $60,000 would end up going towards taxes. He would spend another $10,000 on drums, video games, and other entertainment items. And he would spend $6,000 in hospital bills and later be sued by the hospital for not paying his full bill of $33,000. The rest of his money would dry up due to other medical expenses, including that gunshot to his foot. Of course, also not helping was that he didn't have medical insurance. MTV would end up tracking down the hospital Rogers was staying at and sent him get-well-soon balloons. He would also end up breaking off his engagement with his girlfriend, and he was asked by the Chicago Tribune whether he was resentful of his winnings or had regrets, and he would tell the paper, "Some people say it's God's way. He's been throwing hints at me for a couple of years. Mom thinks there's some reason I keep getting spared. She said there was some purpose." That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe, and we'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.